All right. Hello, everyone, and now welcome to a game. This game is going to be between JohnnyCage and Edo Boy, taking place here on Secret Valley. Edo Boy spawning as the purple undead on the bottom left-hand side of the map, opening things up with a pretty standard Altar of Darkness crypt. Meanwhile, over here on the top right, we're looking at, well, Altar of Kings, Barracks, pretty standard opening coming in from JohnnyCage as well. Since I've, well, kind of turned the first minute of my cast always into a little bit of a journal for me to go through, and when I re-watch my cast later in the future, just dialoguing my mental health, I realize I'm more stressed than I thought. My watch was actually telling me your resting heart rate was 138 while sitting down for longer than 10 minutes, and it was asking and checking if I'm okay. And yeah, apparently I need a watch. my wife made fun of me. So it's like, what? You need a watch to tell you your heart rate? In reference to, like, millennials needing, or sometimes you need a watch to tell you you're thirsty, to remind you to drink. To which I looked at her. I'm like, you need a watch to tell you your heart rate. She's like, no, you don't. All you do is, like, count your beats and what? She's like, oh, yeah, that's right. You need a watch to keep track of time. I'm like, exactly. So I need a watch to keep track of my heart rate. So yeah. Anyways, a little funny story. Glad I can still find the humor in things. But yeah, thank you for watching the channel, the YouTube channel, for so many years. Definitely appreciate it. Edo Boy opening things up. Going to be going for a Crypt Lord and a go wide strategy. He may try and clear out this creep camp here and set up an expansion. Very popular strategy, as well. He's going to most likely sell that Scroll of Town portal. If he does, is he gonna, and he is unsummoning the Altar of Darkness, so two telltale signs that he is going to be going for a fast expansion, right? This strategy, now also getting up that Sacrificial Skull, has a Rod of Necromancy. Should have taken out that sheep earlier, because it takes a little bit of time for the sheep to actually turn into a corpse and then be able to summon up. As you now see, Acolyte and Footman now trying to do a little bit of fighting. What's interesting here is that this Acolyte can do a little bit of a dance back and forth. And remember, Acolytes, they have a very fast regeneration while on Blight. All right, are we going to see this Acolyte move away? No, yep, there goes the Acolyte. Going to try and move away. Additional ghouls going to try and get into position, get in some extra damage. And all this the guy can do is, well, you can see, but JohnnyCage is just auto-attacking here, and it's just kind of chasing. And now that Footman is going to be forced to retreat. All right, Archmage has cleared up this 3 o'clock spot. Meanwhile, already summoning up here. Haven't placed down a Ziggurat yet. Edo Boy does have a Ring of Regeneration, so that is going to be some extra fast regeneration while on Blight here, as the Crypt Lord gets up to level 2. All right, we're going to get a surround on this Water Elemental Skeletal Minion, going to be easily taken down. Archmage has a Talisman of Evasion. You can see that the Crypt Lord is just, well, doing a little bit of a dance, and we should be getting up a Ziggurat as well. Look at this go-wide army here. It looks very, very impressive. And then you realize, well, those 5 are summons, and so are these 2. So so are those 3. So there's only 2 ghouls, or 3 ghouls, in this entire complement. Meanwhile, over here on the bottom right, Footman, well, throwing himself on the breath of a dragon in order to not, well, give experience. Coming back around here, Archmage is going to, well, pick up a Circlet of Nobility and sold that Talisman of Evasion for a Staff of Teleportation, and now we are looking at a potential engagement again. Ghouls are now coming back here. Edo Boy looking to defend this expansion as best as he can. He might want to try to stay on that Blight, as we're looking at perhaps a couple of Footmen about to get taken down. All right, in comes some damage onto that Haunted Goldmine. Haunted Goldmine is now suffering some pressure. We're going to be seeing the Acolytes. Can they repair in time? As we do get a surround onto that Archmage. There goes an Impale. That's going to buy a little bit of time. That's a Staff of Teleportation to get out of this sticky situation. And now the Water Elementals may get cleaned up as well. Are we going to get some repairs? That is the next question here, as this low hit point Footman, well, not low hit point yet, but taking quite a bit of damage. We could see another Impale to try and finish off this Footman, but no, we are not. Nerubian Tower already being upgraded, second Ziggurat down, and this is going to turn into a longer economic game. One thing to note, there's only 4 Acolytes at the gold mine back at home for Edo Boy. So There's 5 here, 4 at the 1 on the south. We'll have to keep tracks whether or not he spots that mistake and trains up an additional acolyte, as the ghouls and the beetles are now clearing out some additional creep camps for experience away from all of the action. All right, in comes a footman here. Are we going to see a little bit of damage? Are we going to see an impale? No, we are not. There goes another, and that is going to be a mantle of intelligence sitting at 2.5. Meanwhile, Archmage clearing out this, I believe, a 5-3-1 creep camp. Null Overseer going to get finished off here. Archmage going to inch towards level 3 as well, but not quite make it. Now, Tech to Tier 2 has already started for JohnnyCage. JohnnyCage's expansion is also operational. So this is a long-term economic run. We are going to be seeing some more creeping. Crypt Lord get to level 3. Archmage looking to engage against this 3-1-1 creep camp here. And both sides content with just clearing out their own neck of the woods to try and gain some sort of an advantage, hero level advantage, or perhaps not fall behind. Now, this is one of the things I will say about going beetles. If you are the Crypt Lord, the level 3 power spike isn't as instantaneous, just because it takes a while to cycle through all of your beetles to get that larger summoned army. The one great strength of the carry-on beetles is the fact that they are permanent. So, so that they're permanent and they kind of linger around. They don't have that timed life that all the other summons do. But that does mean it takes a little bit of time to get all of the necessary summons out. So, it's going to be up to Edoboy to cycle through those quickly. Archmage perhaps going to try and make punish his opponent. JohnnyCage coming in from behind here, going after the Ogre Magi. So they're actually, sharing is caring, apparently, as both sides here are trying to figure out who can get that last final shot. All right, there goes an Impale, and the Crypt Lord does not get the experience. And I believe the Archmage also gets the Potion of Greater Healing. A little bit more damage going down. Archmage uses the Potion of Greater Healing. There's another Impale again in order to back away. And remember, even though the health bars, that's a lot of health bars coming across from Edoboy's side, these are all just skeletal minions and carry-on beetles yet. And still, they're not nearly as powerful until, I guess, the Crypt Lord gets to level 5. We're going to see some more damage go through. Archmage sitting at 3.5. Low hit point footman. Is he going to back away? Is he going to get taken down? No, he gets denied. JohnnyCage gets a nice deny there here. And JohnnyCage doing a great job just denying experience, as we're going to be looking at a water elemental getting taken down by a beetle there. All right, level 3.7 against 3.8, pretty much neck and neck. A Tome of Agility being left behind. Death Knight now out on the battlefield, as well as we are already teching to Tier 3. Slaughterhouse getting summoned down, dual Slaughterhouse getting summoned down. So we could be looking at dual Obsidian statues, Abominations, Destroyers, all Meat Wagons, all of that good jazz, good stuff there. All right. 5th Acolyte back on that gold mine once more. Mining looks strong there. Mining looks strong here. We are looking at a blacksmith already completed. We should be looking at some workshops being placed down. And then it looks like knights and flying machines is going to be the order. All right, Death Knight going to go ahead and get a Death Coil here. Archmage, well, going to go ahead and try and teleport away. And it will be able to do, in fact, exactly that. Staff of Teleportation. JohnnyCage brings the Archmage back here. I believe that was a lumber. No, that was a farm. And then there's a Scroll of Regeneration right there. Clarity Potion on the Archmage, as well as the Mountain King now joins in on the fight. So, majority of the green creep camps have already been cleared out. A couple of orange creep camps left. Mountain King opted for Stormbolt instead of Thunderclap here on this 5-3-3 creep camp. That won't give level 2, but just put him just a little bit shy. Meanwhile, Archmage is going to try and put pressure here. Dual Obsidian Statues, Crypt Fiends. This could spell problems, as the Archmage has to be careful. Could get easily impaled and then all of a sudden in trouble. And that's going to be exactly here what we have. Scroll of Town Portal forced. And JohnnyCage kind of walked into that one. He tried to put in the pressure and then was just absolutely punished. Mountain King off on here gets a crystal ball there. Him just shy of level 2. A couple of low hit point footmen as well taken down as the Archmage comes over. No, doesn't bring a Scroll of Regeneration. All right, that comes as a surprise. No no Scroll of Regeneration. There's that dual workshops here. 1 Arcane Sanctum for Spellbreakers and 1 Barracks, as we're looking to clear out of this Fountain of Health creep camp. Meanwhile, off on the side, well, what is Edo Boy waiting for? Edo Boy did take out that Overlord. Is he going to come in and finish off the remainder of these units? Yes, he is. And this is going to give time to go after the Red Drake and the Fountain of Health creep camp. All right, Archmage is benefiting nicely here, and now going to pick up Rune Bracers as well. That could be or should be given to the Archmage, as, well, he's often the one on the receiving end of some death coils. All right. Mountain King also could be on the receiving end of Death Coil's Frost Nova, as the Lich is getting trained already. Alright, level 4, level 2. Are we going to see a Paladin? Yes, we are. Paladin also getting trained up here. We are getting up Knights. I do not believe Animal War training is done just quite yet. Wow, that Knight has to run all the... does it have room to get out? It does not. All right, so JohnnyCage's Knights are currently in trouble. They have no way to get out, and that is going to continue to be a problem until that tree right there has been cleared. Archmage does have an Orb of Fire and also that Staff of Sanctuary. That's incredibly important. Paladin now making its way down, and still you can see this Knight is just trying to well, figure out a way to get out of that tight spot in the back. No Animal War training yet. Still, yeah, still no Animal War training yet. The peasants have cleared out the trees, and now, well, the peasants need to move for that Knight to get into position. Destroyers have mana. This is the #1 telltale sign that an attack is about to go down, but that also means the obsidian statues are dry on mana, and here we are, here we go into the fight. Arcane Tower quickly going to get destroyed. You can see that anti-magic, or that magic attack onto that heavy armor, how much damage it deals. Flying machines now making their way over, and are we going to see enough flying machines to finish this off? Remember, the destroyers do have splash damage while they have mana, but the flying machines seemingly strong enough. So far, more destroyers popping up into the air. Archmage going to buy a potion of healing, continuing to attack, and Edo Boy is losing a bunch of destroyers here. 60 supply compared to 60, both sides with heavy losses, as the Archmage could be in trouble. Archmage, Scroll of Town Portal is going to survive temporarily. There's a big thunderclap across multiple ghouls, as the Archmage is going to get taken down. Scroll of Town Portal, well, a little bit too greedy. Lich falls at level 1. Well, yeah, Lich falls at level 1. Are we going to see another thunderclap here? No, not enough mana, as the units are still fighting their way through. All right, there goes another ghoul. There goes another ghoul. Level 5 now on the Crypt Lord. This Knight really should be engaging. Not quite sure why it isn't. It's actually a little bit further away, so JohnnyCage losing control of his units, not being able to get out as much as he needs. Paladin now finally out on the battlefield. Mountain King trying to retreat back. Archmage, Resurrection is underway, as the flying machines are trying to go after the destroyer and do exactly that. After all of that bloodbath, we're looking at 48 supply compared to 48. Paladin can come across. There's another Holy Light here. Knights is continuing to engage and perhaps trying to finish off some of these Crypt Fiends as well, as the another Knight, well, takes a little bit of a heal, but without the Animal War training, not going to have enough. All right, are we going to see a Stormbolt? Yes, Stormbolt down onto a Crypt Fiend. Crypt Fiend going to get taken down. Level 2 now on the Paladin. Paladin perhaps going to go for it. Devotion Aura, keep all of these units alive. Mountain King going to perhaps try to get a Stormbolt. No, does not do a Stormbolt here. Finds a Stormbolt on a Crypt Fiend, so going after higher priority targets. Death Knight doesn't have enough mana, as the Obsidian statues have not been refilling the Death Knights just quite yet. More flying machines looking to retreat back. 47 supply compared to 55. JohnnyCage has a bunch of destroyers with no, a bunch of flying machines with no destroyers to challenge, as the Spellbreakers are looking to fight and engage here. All right, there was some control magic on some of those skeletal minions, as the units are trying to retreat back. There goes another Frost Nova as well. So, well, Edo Boy completely content with trying to make sure his opponent cannot mine easily and freely from this expansion. Top left, about 11 minutes of mining left, 8 minutes of mining here. True for the other sides as well, as the Death Knight, Lich, Crippler are going to hang out at the Fountain of Health and regain a bunch of, well, hit points. Right, there goes another Crypt Fiend lost in transit. Mountain King now looking to, well, make its way back off to the north here, as militia were called down, and then, well, they'll get back to work at this expansion. Archmage is back out onto the battlefield as well, and going to be rejoining momentarily. It really needed those Rune Bracers. I guess, well, the Rune Bracer is going to be staying on the Paladin instead. a good choice. If you can keep the Paladin alive, you can generally keep the Archmage alive once that Paladin gets to level 3 and has that 400 hit point burst heal. 5-3-1. Well, Edelboy bringing in Abominations, Crypt Fiends, both sides, however, gonna spot each other here, and this is one of those, well, two giant armies, and the other units are gonna try and engage. We're looking at the Abominations now with Disease Cloud, so that's gonna be some lingering damage. We are still seeing more Knights getting trained, but still no Animal War training just quite yet. All right, Crypt Fiends able to web down a couple of flying machines, but the flying machines without the ability to attack ground don't really mean anything, at least not right now. All right. Bombs now trying to get upgraded here. Archmage coming back around. The flying machines will be opening up that damage as the Overlord gets a shockwave across multiple units. There's a Death Coil. Level 2 now on the Lich. Legion of Doomhorn picked up by the Crypt Lord. And, well, the Mountain King really needed to be the one to lead the charge here to try and punish. Archmage just trying to get in some, like, free attacks isn't going to be that much. There's a Stormbolt. There's a Death Coil, there's an Impale, Spellbreaker going to get taken down. No, Staff of Sanctuary for the save, and that may be the difference here as the Mountain King still trying to push in more pressure, going to go straight after those Crypt Fiends again and again. All right, there goes another Impale, there goes the Staff of Sanctuary saving one, there's a Holy Light, but that's not going to save the other, just simply too much damage as the army here of Edelboy is still quite large. All right, we're going to see some more damage rip on through. There's a Thunderclap, Lich gets taken down, Paladin gets taken down. So, the secondary heroes, or the tertiary heroes, getting lost once more. All right, still more fighting underway, trying to go after other of these units. Crypt Fiend's going to finish off another group here as we now see flying machines ready to bombard and perhaps take down some of these obsidian statues that are in the back position. All right, flying machines, however, getting webbed down by these Crypt Fiends again. 53 supply compared to 69, still trying to push through here, but there's too many obsidian statues, and it's going to make it difficult to really focus down any individual unit, especially as the Death Knight now has mana and 400 hit point heals. 54 supply compared to 69. Water Elemental looks like it's going to get cleaned up here, and the Crypt Lord is just inching closer and closer to level 6. JohnnyCage trying to find ways to make this work, but, well, even with the Orb of Fire, not able to do enough damage to pick off any trailing Crypt Fiends. All right, Brilliance, Aura, Mountain King now looking to fall back here. Knights looking to fall back. Paladin, well, sees a couple of Spellbreakers still currently regenerating hit points, as Edelboy seemingly having, I would say, the advantage right now. 64 supply compared to 75. Hero levels 5-4-2 compared to 5-4-2. But the Lich, well, just resurrected now. All right, it will come down to that tipping point. If the Paladin can get to level 3, that would be a major boost in the overall survivability of the entire army. That looks like it's going to be able to get there off of the remainder of this creep camp here. Yes, Paladin going to pick up a Tome of Intelligence as well, get a little bit more mana, already up to 330, and, well, with that level 3 Holy Light, should be able to heal the Mountain Kings and other units that are getting a bit of pressure. Archmage only has 650 hit points and is kind of the glue that's holding this army together. Perhaps the Staff of Sanctuary should be put onto the Paladin, perhaps, as you really need to have that Staff of Sanctuary if you want this fight to go well. 76 supply compared to 78. Army sizes are about the same right now. We're going to go ahead and try and engage. There's a couple of webs now, and here we are into a battle. There's a massive Impale. Flying Machines continuing to fight here. Flying Machines are going to try to bombard that back line. Knights getting taken down. 68 supply compared to 78. That initial burst, such a big problem. Oh, Thunderclap missing the Death Knight. The Death Knight now down to 101 hit points. Is he going to be able to escape? Yes, he is able to escape at 49. Not able to chase all the way through. Stormbolt, Holy Light finishing off the Lich, though. So now the two of the undead heroes now down. Thank you for the follow. Both sides still fighting. Paladin now back across here. Death Coil. Paladin, he survives. Rune Bracers has a little bit of enough. Gonna go ahead and get the Holy Light and then Staff of Sanctuary out of that sticky situation. Are we gonna see a Stormbolt go down onto the Death Knight? Death Knight now regenerating a bunch of hit points. Death Knight could be in trouble. Death Knight gonna end up getting taken down as the Death Knight falls. The Brilliance Aura giving that Mountain King plenty of mana throughout this battle and could get to level 3 Stormbolt here in just a second. All right, Crippler about to get taken down. Mountain King just shy of level 5. There gets to level 5. Level 3 Stormbolt. No, level 3 Thunderclap now being used instead. There's a Thunderclap slowing all of those units again as the Destroyers are now in the air unchallenged as all the flying machines have been taken out. All right, we're looking at an Impale Archmage. Does he have a Staff of Sanctuary charge ready? No, does not. Mountain King trying to retreat back here. Are we going to see anyone with a Staff of Sanctuary perhaps trying to save some of those units? Saves another Spellbreaker, and now the Mountain King is a little bit on a run. All right, there's a Water Elemental going back the other way. Mountain King could easily Stormbolt now with another bullet in the chamber, so to speak, as the fights are getting underway again. All right, Flying Machines back out. All right, three Flying Machines need to engage heavily here. It can go up against these Destroyers. Otherwise, the Knights are going to fall, and we're going to be looking at the Crippler. Crippler ends up staying alive. Divine Shield. There's a Holy Light. Paladin comes back around, and the Mountain King still needs to stay close enough. Is he going to finish off any of these Crypt Fiends? There goes 2 additional Crypt Fiends there, as the Archmage still trying to give chase. All right, Mountain King, 70 supply. Is we going to see a Stormbolt or something else come down here? There's a Stormbolt onto an Abomination. That Abomination going to be taking quite a bit of damage. Knight could be in trouble as well. There's a Holy Light for the save as the Fly Machines are looking to engage, going back the other way. There goes one Knight, and well, Staff of Sanctuary for the save again and again as the Flying Machines are going after the Destroyer. Destroyer could end up getting taken down. There goes another. A Holy Light finishes off another Abomination. 53 supply compared to 52. 2 level 5 heroes and a level 3 going up against a nearly level 7, a Resurrecting 4, and a level 2 Lich. Main gold mine has been mined out for JohnnyCage. Still a little bit of gold left for Edoboy. Meanwhile, the Expos, 6 minutes of mining and, well, 3.5 minutes of mining. Taking the expansions are going to be key here. As the Paladin, well, clearing out this Fountain of Health creep camp, trying to finish things off. We're going to see the Flying Machines now make their way over. Paladin going to be the one to gain all the experience and get to level 4. That is going to be huge. Getting to level 4 at this for that hero. Remember, the Lich and the Paladin about 3 minutes ago were the same. Oh, nope. Mountain King came and still gives enough experience to the Paladin. But remember, moments ago, the hero levels were much, much closer. The Lich just now getting to level 3. And it's got to be Staff of Sanctuary constantly saving Knights, Spellbreakers, and heroes from what would have been certain death multiple times. All right, a beautiful game going back and forth here. Still no clear winner. It feels like JohnnyCage has outplayed Edoboy in these final moments, but still Edoboy has the larger and stronger economy for now. As I say that, well, you guys see what's happening. Level 6 now on the Archmage. Mass teleportation now on the move. Literally for the Archmage here. Going to be able to teleport around the map, have multiple points of interest, be able to defend. Yeah, well, needed to make sure that it was actually mass teleport. Sometimes I say mass teleport and some human players were like, you know what, I'm not going to use mass teleport that much. I'm going to get level 3 Brilliance Aura for more mana on my Mountain King and my Paladin. That does work as well. Hello. Coming back around. All right, Crypt Fiend's gonna, well, Crypt Fiend's finishing things off here. Yes, I'm casting. What's up? Yes. Destroyers taking to the skies once more. That's going to be a lot of Devour magic. All right, mass teleport in order to get away. And, well, Flying Machines not part of this, part of that teleportation. We're looking at 69 supply compared to 79. No Expo at the north. So JohnnyCage apparently just content knowing that, hey, your Expo is going to run out of gold before mine. maybe I'm going to be able to, well, win out on these fights here. Archmage going to try and engage flying machines, need to get closer, and now that the flying machines are there, you can see the destroyers are just desperately trying to retreat back next to the Crypt Fiends, but there's so many flying machines that the Crypt Fiends cannot web them all down. All right, there goes an Impale, a couple of bits of damage. Staff of Sanctuary for the save again. Flying machines are just owning the skies. The Knights, however, still have problems as we're looking at, well, a couple of Banshees now going to get pressured down. We see what Locust Swarm now out. Lich gets finished off. Ultimate ability here. Archmage continuing to battle it up. Death Coil saving that Abomination there as more Impales just getting constantly picked up. Are we going to see another Staff of Sanctuary? No. Holy Light for a save. Paladin gets taken down. There goes an Abomination. There's a massive Thunderclap here as the Mountain King is at level 6. Mountain King level 6 does have Avatar, but doesn't have enough mana for it. Archmage still providing plenty of mana. Mountain King now back up to about 80 mana. Is he just going to try and thunderclap his way out of this situation and constantly just get more and more units taken down? That seems to be the strategy now as we're looking at these units here. No, I thought he was lining up for a thunderclap. He is not. Just getting more damage onto that Obsidian Statue. Obsidian Statue now back out onto the battlefield. There's a Stormbolt onto a Crypt Fiend. Water Elementals, could have gotten some damage back onto that Destroyer. Mountain King still has enough mana for another, has another bullet in the chamber. Are we going to see another Stormbolt go down? That is the question here. There's another Stormbolt. There's some damage. Death Knight nearby does have enough for a Death Coil. Is he going to do a little bit of an overheal? No, doesn't even bother with the heal here as another Staff of Sanctuary being used. Mountain King just constantly trying to go after units, waiting to get another bit of mana, and this is one of those situations with the Mountain King. Well, finally has mana again. There's going to be another Stormbolt onto the Death Knight this time. Death Knight should be able to get away. And back on Blight as the Mountain King, tries to chase. Additional thing, the Mountain King does have a Sobi Mask, so that additional mana regeneration from the Sobi Mask and the Brilliance Aura is the reason why this Mountain King seems to have Stormbolts for days, even though it's only level 2 Stormbolt right now. All right, Mountain King having another, are we going to see a Stormbolt? Yeah, Stormbolt go down onto the Death Knight. Death Knight losing that replenishment potion regeneration that he had used earlier. Paladin going to be making its way out onto the battlefield again, and now about another minute of mining here. JohnnyCage, I think, has outlasted Edo Boy, as no additional mining happening, except, we know undead can unsummon their buildings, so where there's a will, there's a way, and unsummoning buildings to get that little bit of additional gold back and get your units back out onto that battlefield. Paladin sitting at level 4. Has been the target of a lot of damage. Archmage, there's a Clarity Potion on the Mountain King, so trying to top off that Mountain King with plenty of mana. Paladin also needs quite a bit of mana as well. Archmage apparently has all the mana he needs. A
player's forces are under attack.
Yeah, has all the mana he needs. Water Elemental scouting out that southern position, sees that there is no gold being mined here, and perfectly content with that. All right, down to 160, down to a couple of bits of gold. It will be coming to an end. 54 supply compared to 44. Army size advantage, maybe if he can train up one more Spellbreaker off of this little bit of gold. No, spent a lot of it on items and also lost a bit of it to upkeep. Unable to get enough gold for any additional units. We do have a squadron of flying machines who have taken to the skies here, and now this is going to be a little bit of a standoff. They're not quite sure how they want to engage against each other. Edo Boy is going to get closer and closer to 50 over 50 supply, and now there's also a couple of Banshees out here on the battlefield with mastery training. All right, Edo Boy, if he gets enough Banshees out here onto the battlefield, is he going to unsummon anything else? Unsummon the graveyard? Or unsummoning the Temple of Damned now. All right. So I thought he would go for more Banshees, because Banshees could easily turn the tide by, possessing those knights. But by possessing knights, and then suddenly your supply advantage is completely lost. All right, there's going to go an Acolyte there. 150 mana to move the entire army and get a little bit of gold back once more. Interesting to note that this gold mine is actually closer than this, or this castle, this town hall. I don't know. It seems further, unless there's something wrong with the pathing. Anyways,
Players' forces are under attack.
flying machine, destroyers. There are, well, 2 banshees amongst all of those units. Those 2 banshees, if they can land a possession against the 2 knights, well, then the fight is going to be drastically different. Death Knight on the move does have, well, does have a ring of regeneration. And we're looking at some anti-magic shell to protect the heroes. Right, try to shake off some of those storm bolts.
A player's forces are under attack.
Meanwhile, down to the south here, more peasants mining to this southern spot. So every bit of gold collected and harvested, just trying to work out well. All right, Archmage here. Incoming army. Yep, the flying machines have their bombard. Nope, you can upgrade them.
A player's forces are under attack.
All right, peasants getting taken down here easily. Death Knight seeing that level 5 Lich. Is it going to get to level 4? No, it's not. All of these peasants just absolutely lost here as we're going to see the battle get underway. Fly Machine's going to try and engage. And what is going on with these the Banshees? The Banshees are not finishing off the Knights here. There's Death Coil Frost Nova straight up onto the Knights here. There's a massive Thunderclap, but anti-magic shell protecting from that damage as both sides are still fighting again here. Archmage trying to finish off that Lich. Lich ends up getting a Death Coil for the heal. And remember, the anti-magic shell would have protected it from much of that damage. Mountain King is in that avatar mode trying to fight its way back. Archmage gets absolutely blasted. There's a Stormbolt onto the Lich, but as we said, anti-magic shell works so well at preventing much of that damage. 41 supply compared to 28. Edo Boy still has heroes, and does he have obsidian statues? 1 obsidian statue off to the side here. Both sides still continuing to fight. That obsidian statue is the key to keep this undead army together, and it is not nearby. Didn't provide any additional health or mana here as we see an Impale go down. Knights could end up getting taken down. Death Knight down to 65 hit points as the Mountain King, or the Knight is now trying to chase after the Death Knight. 113 hit points compared to 77. All right, both sides still fighting their way through. Banshees, Banshees are all gone. Level 4 now on the Lich. Mountain King low on mana without that level 2 Brilliance Aura, unable to constantly just throw out Stormbolt as the Spellbreakers now look to back away. All right, Lich down to 377 hit points. Stormbolt is ready. Why? I'm not sure why we don't see a Stormbolt. Knight is going to engage. There's a Stormbolt now, but the Knight and the Death Knight were fighting next to each other, and here is a battle next to the Fountain of Health. This Mountain King is not, in a great spot as the flying machines are not going to be enough here. Flying machines not enough. A couple of beetles walking back and forth. Paladin trying to make its way back down to the heroes. The human heroes have been separated. There's a Stormbolt onto a Crypt Lord, but that Crypt Lord, so many hit points. That 300 hit point Stormbolt not going to do much. JohnnyCage comes back around. We're going to be looking at a Holy Light coming in from the Paladin. Paladin trying to save this unit here. Are we going to see a Staff of Sanctuary transfer? Staff of Sanctuary transfer could be possible. We need to see another Holy Light. There. Oh, no Holy Light. The light was from the death there, and that is gonna be the game. JohnnyCage unable to close out the victory. The anti-magic shell of those Banshees, that initial damage prevention, or like you can almost think of it as additional 500 hit points on those 3 heroes to start the battle, was the difference right there. As well, the Archmage only had, I believe, 700 hit points, and once that Archmage got Death Coiled Frost Nova, giant targets on its back, was forced to retreat. Let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comments below.